Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. I'm Angie Piscato, joined today by Ron Overs, who is the publisher of Fixed Ops magazine. Ron, we have a rock star panel with us today.
This is awesome, isn't it? It's just a great group of guys that really are going to tell us what really is going on in the fixed ops world.
Yes, I feel like we're going to learn the secret sauce here today.
Absolutely. Well, my thought today is to say, we came off of a year 2025 that was just exceptional for most people. They had a really great year, especially you Ford dealers, right, who just had more recalls than one would want to know what to do with. It was quite the year. But, as we move into 2026 and forward, I want to figure out what are the facts and what are the fertilizer that we need to separate here on what's going forward. What kind of things did you learn from last year that are really facts learned that are going to be applied maybe even more so in 2026? And what things did you say I dove into and it's still on my shoes? Okay, there's a little fertilizer action on a few of those things I tried that I thought were going to be great that turned out to be a lot of energy and more smoke than fire. So Ed, can I start you off since you had so much time to think about this? Tell me what your thoughts are on this.
Well, like you said, it's a great 25, and I am honored to be in the Ford business. Obviously, you stated something about a few recalls that we had there last year. Happened to be the most number of recalls that any manufacturer's ever had in the history of the automotive industry. But we cleaned them up last year so that we can have a clean sweep this year. And if you guys have paid attention to the news in the last few weeks, Ford Motor Company has been named the most iconic brand in America. And so those are the nuggets that I like to build on. Last year we had the From America for America when the tariff stuff was coming out. Then we had the recall stuff. You always got to have something to build on. You have the stuff with interest rates and the EV credits going away. And you have to take those things and build on them. And so this year, to start off with, we're closing out the first month of the year in January, and we have the most iconic brand to work with. We're continuing to, as Jim says in his background there, embracing mobile, taking care of our customers on their terms. The 2026 is what we make it. Leverage the opportunities that come out in front of us, and I'm looking forward to it.
It should be a great year, really will. And I do have a couple more recalls I'll be down to just get cleaned up from last year on my Lincoln, but we're almost there. I mean, it's a great car. We love the thing.
I'll buy you a burger when you get here.
All right, look forward to it. That'll be great. So Tully, tell me what's happening out on the West Coast.
Last year was a great year for us. I mean, the fourth quarter was a little dip, but overall we did a great job. We hit our projections, grew over 10%. I feel that's a win for us. What we learned last year for us was let's dial in our driveway processes and get ourselves set up for repeat referral business. And I feel last year we hit the great almighty 70% numerous times throughout the year. And we've had stores at 75% retention rate. So the year of 2026 is the year of retention in the big three. And the big three to me are brakes, batteries, and tires. As we focus on making sure our technicians are doing great inspections and we're doing great videos and making sure that we're doing the processes right, now we can focus on making sure that we sell 75 to 80% of all red brakes, batteries, and tires. And you think, Tully, wow, that's a big bullet. Batteries are easy. But we're having success with tires, and that's because I give one away for free. And I'm okay with that. And we do a pretty good job. But brakes has been our biggest struggle in making sure that we are competitive and people understand the brakes. That's going to be our challenge for 2026. We need to be 75 to 80% to ensure we have that great 70% retention rate of all of our stores. So I am looking forward and excited about 2026.
Those numbers sounded like quite a challenge, but you're exactly right. What customer should leave with red brakes? None of that. Right?
None. And so we have backstops, and there's all kinds of things we're doing. The service manager calls it. Right now, we sell at 60, 70%. Some stores a little less, some are a little high, but the group needs to sell. We want to be at 75 to 80% red brakes and red tires and red batteries, 100%.
Great goals. Absolutely. Those are awesome. No question about it. So Tom, now we're over to Western New York. Tell me your facts and your fertilizer stories from 25 and 26.
Well, 2025 was definitely a great year for us. One of the things that we learned through a phone system change was that there's an awful lot of customers that are looking to do business with us that we just weren't prepared for. So the 2026 mantra is find a way to say yes. We are focusing, just like Tully was saying, batteries, brakes, tires. A big part of the way to that is through your express type operations and being able to get people in for oil changes, to be able to take a look at the cars, do your videos, make your presentations. We're really putting a lot of eggs in that basket this year, finding a way to lead with yes, take more vehicles, no appointment at more stores. Really, the goal is all stores. We want all 40 locations to be no appointment needed for basic oil changes, for basic maintenance. But then being able to make sure that we're hitting the videos, we're closing the sales, really all focused on that retention, bringing the customers back in, give us another shot at the next sale, which then feeds the cycle.
Fantastic. And, so true. Sean Kingery, someone who's sitting right next to you there, wrote a great article about that, about how you got processes and systems and you have to follow those processes, okay, until the customer asks for something different. Then just do it. Okay, just
Right.
take that outlier and just take care of their needs, whatever the heck those are, because it's just an outlier. And the goal is to retain the customer. So the brilliant guy sitting next to you had a great article about that before. It's so important to do exactly that. Well done. Great. So Jim, I love your background, Mr. Seb. Could anyone have a better background?
Can you say teacher's pet anymore right there? I mean, really, come on.
You have won the award. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Ron. Thank you. So again, 25, just to echo again, 25 was a good year. We did learn some things. We had some takeaways. We like anyone else, you learn from your mistakes and you come out better. So 25 showed that the customers really respond well when you make it convenient and easy for them to do business with you. And that, remote experience plays a big role in that for us here as a Ford dealership. Obviously, we have a tremendous support from Ford Motor Company through our pickup and delivery process and our mobile service experience. So Ford is very, very much behind that. They support their dealers at a very high level. They promote it, they advertise it, and then it comes up to the end user, the dealership, to execute those interactions with your customers. So we are going to continue that and continue to scale that and pick up and deliver more cars per day, perform more mobile services, as many as we possibly can. We expanded our hours into the evenings, into the weekends to make it convenient to service them when their vehicles are down. And that's becoming very, very rewarding with the fleets. When the fleets are out on the road, they don't have time because their vehicles and trucks are out working. When they're parked, that's when we come in, we take over, we come in, we do the recalls, the maintenance, the repairs, and it works really, really well. So to the point where we have to continue to add mobile vans, as Ed knows that all too well. And how many he has? 44, I believe, is the last count. But who's counting? It's got, all right, there you go. Who's counting? So really, really, tremendous job that they did down there in St. Augustine. And I learned from that on a daily basis with him and what Jeremy has continued, what Ed started. So convenience is our practice of making everything right, and the customers removing their friction points, removing any type of roadblocks, and as easy as possible through communication, through their cell phone, texting, sending payment threads through their texting app. And you can't make it easier than what we're doing. We also too are going to invest more into our employees, training, making sure that they're paid properly and correctly so that they don't have a reason to possibly defect or look somewhere else. They are your face, they are your brand. So if you invest in your employees, that in turn will spin into your customers. And a good experience is going to keep them back, coming and coming and coming. As far as customer retention, customer satisfaction, all pulls into that. So again, you want to be able to sell hours, as Tully has quoted that and trademarked that phrase. And you want the ability of cars to come in with no appointments, as what Tom was saying. So, yes, you want appointments to schedule your load as best possible, but you want the ability for people to come in without an appointment and receive the same level of service and attention that you would if they had an appointment. So 2026, here we come.
It's going to be a great year, and you're absolutely right. And as a user of mobile service, I can tell you that, as you said, the voice on the phone is so important. Jamie is Ed's voice, who calls me for my little whatever thing I need, and she does an amazing job of being able to get the content, say, okay, what recalls do I need to have done? What maintenance do I need to have done? What else? And what they found, right? I did a routine service that ended up being, hey, there's a bad CV boot leaking, and there's this wrong and that. And they were able to take care of all those things in my driveway while I was working diligently at my desk at home. Or maybe I was sitting by the pool. I'm not sure, but I can tell you this. Okay, I wasn't at the dealership, looking for a cup of coffee. It was a great day, and they've done an amazing job with their mobile service. Ed, how many trucks do they have out there now?
46, and since it's 26, we have to get on past the 46. So we'll have to see where it goes.
I'll tell you what, it's great. And if you drive to his place, there's a restaurant just before you get to his place, and there is a line of mobile vehicles that you just very impressive for the job that they have done. So, yeah, he's done a really great job of getting that off and running. So, Sean, tell me what's going on up there in Wisconsin.
It's sunny Wisconsin, by the way. I'm blessed this panel because normally I follow Tully, and for those that don't know, that's Jim made that one hard. I think for 2026, Tully made a comment that the fourth quarter took a dip, and it did for us as well too. And quite frankly, we ate up a lot of 2025 that we shouldn't have ate up in 2026. So for us, our change is going to be we're restructuring our training program across the board. We're revisiting that completely. And when I say a wholesale change, it's a wholesale change. And it's not just because what works for one store doesn't work for the other. I think what I discovered, and I'll look in the mirror when I say this, if you don't have the ABCs, you can't do the XYZs, okay? If the ABCs aren't correct, the XYZs aren't going to work. And we were so focused on what the end model looked like that the basics of the blocking and tackling were broken. And I'll own that, and I'll accept that, and we're going to move forward on that. So that Q1 is we're already into it. We're 3 weeks into Q1 at this point, and then you got NADA and everything else that gets the distractions. Normally up in the Midwest, January and February are slow. It's not the case anymore. We don't have the ups and the downs and the peaks and the valleys. So I think for us, blocking and tackling is back to where we are in the ABCs, and 100% refocus on our training strategy.
How important that is, right? Right. I mean, just starting even with the communication skills with the customers, just the assumption that everyone knows how to speak and everyone knows how to communicate with people. It takes training. It takes a lot of training. I don't know if you've ever been through a deposition. Okay. Unfortunately, in my life, I've had a couple of these, and you learn very quickly how to talk, how to listen, how to answer the question, but not do any more than answer the question. And, I think it would help every service writer to go through a deposition training, to learn to, you really got to learn to listen to those customers and learn what they really want. If you're not sure, repeat back what you thought you heard and then answer their request. So, training, starting right with communication is so important. And kudos to you for taking responsibility to say, hey, this is what I got to do. We got to make this right. And then we got to move it forward, and then business will just continue to take off and grow. So, way to go! That's great. So, Scott, tell me about yourself. What's happening out in the desert?
Same old, sunny and warm. Not too hot right now, so we're enjoying that. But 2025 was a good year. We ended up year over year, not as much as I'd like to have been, but we were up. So a win's a win. 2026. Going back to the book Atomic Habits, small changes in habits lead to big outcomes. And we've tasked everybody with just improving by 1%. Seems like a very small number, but you think about if everybody in the entire dealership improves by 1%, that's a pretty exponential number. So pretty good increases. We're implementing electronic menus that we can present on the tablets right on the service drive. I think that'll help with sales there. Kind of to Tully's point, we're going to hold them accountable to 70 to 75% on sales, especially safety related items. We're also going to we'll be able to measure their presentation and the acceptance of the menu. So that's going to help a lot. And then just going back to the basics, I'm spending a lot of time in the shop and on the service drive just to see where there's opportunities to improve processes and also to learn what people don't know. Because if you don't know what they don't know, you don't know what kind of training they need. So going back to the basics there, and it's kind of like Sean said, just reevaluating our whole training process and trying to figure out exactly what people need so we can give them what they need and get them to where we get that 1% extra out of them and more, hopefully.
Now, that sounds like the plan, right? The plan is to make sure you're doing the basics right, and then have really set goals that actually are achievable and measurable, so that you can see what it's going to happen. Now, most of us have a fixed ops real focus. Now, someone on this panel, of course, does well more than that. You know, he's kind of a GM kind of guy. But the rest of us really focus on just fixed operations. My question to the group really is, how do we communicate? We're all talking retention, right? But how do we make sure that the whole dealership understands the focus of service, besides obviously profitability, is to retain that customer and keep that customer going someplace else, and making sure that we're all on the same boat, talking with management, talking with GMs. GMs can be tough to talk with because they most of them think they know everything, you know, and you have to put them in their shoes every now and then and make sure they got it right. But the reality is, how do we really talk from fixed ops to the GM, to the owners of the store, and say, hey, this is how we make all this, you know, work together and work well. Hey, you know, let's start right off with Mr. Roberts and see how we would put it together.
Well, I'm still in my shoes, so you don't have to put me back in my shoes. I'm still good there.
All right, we'll do that.
We're good. And Tully and a lot of these guys on this call gets it. It's that is exactly the foundation of a great dealer, where loyalty comes from fixed. And yes, sales the first one. We don't have anything to do until sales sells a car. And then once they do, it's up to us to retain that customer and keep them in that brand. And we are very, very fortunate on that, because I can layer in those elements. We talked about mobile earlier, and those things that takes away the friction of that customer journey that they go through the ownership, as they go through the ownership experience. And when you take away that friction, not always do we start off owning the driveway, meaning having both of our vehicles in their driveway. But after they experience it with one of them, then they know what they're going through on the others. That becomes easier to retain them and then own the driveway with the second vehicle. But it's removing the friction. And the more we can do those things, whether they're coming in, and if they're coming in, it isn't just a customer experience, it's a technology experience. And if we're coming to them, it's removing those things that robs the time, so that guys like, I don't know, a publisher can hang out by the pool while we're servicing this vehicle.
So true. And but you know, you've done a great job with all of that, right? I mean, that's the beauty of your organization, and it's a real good point. Remember talking about my sister's Lincoln story, right? Where she got one of the first Corsairs ever built, and maybe, you know, it wasn't perfect, you know, during its construction process. And so it had some really early tough service visits with ghosting software and crazy stuff that you just can't imagine. And she has gotten to the point where she said she will now not buy a car from a dealership that doesn't have mobile service, that doesn't have the things that, you know, that Bozard has, because that becomes now part of what owning a car is all about. Someone who's going to take care of them when there's friction points, big friction points. And she's loving her red Corsair now. Life's good.
Yeah, no matter what brand we represent, we all have service departments tied to us. There's always speed bumps with whatever the brand is. And it's how we take those speed bumps out from where the customer doesn't feel them as much.
No, well done. Tully, how about yourself?
Well, you know, I think it starts with the dealer. If the dealer understands that we are truly in the repeat referral business. Now, I say it probably hourly, if not, you know, every 30 minutes to everybody I talk to. But I think that, it starts with if everybody truly believes that our leader believes in it, which he has been in business for 104 years, I would assume that the Nilos have figured that piece out. But, when we have our dealership group as well within the Sacramento area, and most of our dealerships are within 10 to 20-minute drive, is that we have a lot of customers as we build a great relationship with a person that, say, bought their very first car, a Volkswagen, and then they graduate to maybe an Audi or a BMW. And then as they get more successful, they have a couple of those cars. And next thing you know, they might be buying a Porsche or a Land Rover. Next thing you know, when you look at your long-term great repeat referral customer, they have bought 6 or 7 cars from you, plus their family. So the struggle that we have is that it's more of a DMS issue. And they always say they have these things and this, it doesn't really work well, but we are working hard this year. So when a service writer, a BDC agent, a salesperson, a first contact person with that customer, we can say, thank you, Mr. Overs, for buying 17 cars from us. We can't thank you enough. What can we do for you today? And we need to make sure that all of the writers and everybody understands that, this is a customer, no matter if they bought 1 or 100, that they understand the value. I'm not going to put a dollar amount there because that will make it weird. But we need to say thank you. You brought your car in 75 times over the last 4 years. It's a little heavy, but that's what we want to focus on. And I think that as we get technology to help us with that, and DMSs are kind of helping, but not really, is that we really need to work on how do we help our first contact people say thank you, and then what can I do for you today?
Great points. Tom, how about yourself?
So I think that this issue, partially at least, is solved by one of the things that solves a lot of issues in our business, which is communication, right? So if you think about it, our business model in general is pretty good at building silos between departments, right? The parts department needs to hold their, specific gross and net. Same thing with service. Used car managers are graded on their ability to hold gross on their deals, so they want to minimize recon costs. So we have all of these little silos that are fighting for their own piece of the pie, which then generally makes everybody do a little bit better, but it leads to those walls. So the way that we tear down walls is through communication. So if you're not having at least a monthly all department meeting, all staff meeting in your store, and talking about the challenges, talking about what the goals are and what each of the departments are focused on, you don't really know how you can help each other and how it starts to build some synergy, And in that same vein, if you're a general manager that happens to be watching this, make sure you're coming in through the back door. Walk into the shop. Don't come into the front of the house all of the time. Park in the back with everybody else, come in through the shop, talk to the technicians, make sure that you know their names, make sure that they know your name and who you are. Those sort of things, as you start to tear down those walls between departments, it becomes a lot easier to understand that we're all playing for the same team. And if the service department and the parts departments and collision, if they're helping to sell more cars, all that's doing is driving that work back into the service departments. If we're retaining at a 60-70% clip, that work is coming back into the service departments, which then we have the ability to sell them more cars. We're building those relationships, but it really comes down to communication. Your department heads at minimum need to be communicating on a daily basis. And then that big monthly all-store meeting so that everybody knows where we stand, I think is critical.
Ron, this is the best of the best. I think that we have got such a rock star panel here, joined by so many of the leaders in the industry. I'm so thankful that you were all able to take some time today. Now, I'm hearing a lot of great things that will be happening in 2026 and a lot of reflection on 2025. I think that we have nothing but good things coming. So speaking of that, Ron, if we have anyone in the audience, and just a little aside for anyone watching, our panel today did not have these questions beforehand. So Ron likes to surprise our panel. So what you just saw and what you just heard is a very organic and natural conversation of what everyone on this panel truly thinks and what they do on a daily basis. So really thank you guys for being here, and thank you for taking some time to share your thoughts. Ron, if we have anyone in the audience who is not yet subscribed to Fixed Ops Magazine, how can they go about getting their complimentary copy?
Well, thanks, Angie. It's there it is. Look at that, huh? It-
Thank you,
it's-
Tom.
It's great. I'll tell you what, it's been just a joy putting these magazines together, learning so many people like the great ones we have here on this panel, and really just going to fixedopsmag.com and say subscribe, put your information in, and we will get a magazine out to you and get you on our digital magazine list, and you'll be subscribed. And if you want to in some way write articles or contribute in any way, we'd love to have that as well. So just send me an email, ron@fixedopsmag.com. And I'd love to talk to you about having you contribute articles and all kinds of things to help further the whole industry and make it grow.
Excellent. Well, Ron, Fixed Ops Magazine is the source for all things Fixed Ops Automotive. Go ahead and go to the website, subscribe, and get your free copy. It is excellent information. And gentlemen, thank you so much for being here today. We really enjoyed this conversation. This and more coming up on the Fixed Ops Roundtable.